Very good.
All right, and we are live. Welcome everyone to We the Geeks, a White House series of Google Plus Hangouts where we explore the future of science, technology, and innovation here in the United States. I'm Doug Rand, Assistant Director for Entrepreneurship here at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, and I'm joined by the United States Chief Technology Officer, Todd Park, who's also an assistant to the President. And today's theme is We the Immigrant Geeks. We are having a conversation with some extraordinary entrepreneurs and researchers who have made this country home. And you can join the conversation out there by sending a tweet with the hashtag #WeTheGeeks. So we will be taking your questions, and we encourage you to send them right now. But in the meantime, let's get started with US CTO Todd Park.
Hello, everybody. It's a huge honor to be here today with our truly extraordinary guests, each of whom came to America and made world-changing achievements in science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM fields. America's always attracted the best and brightest folks from around the world. Today we're going to talk about how to make sure this country remains the world's greatest geek magnet. Immigrants have started one of every 4 high-tech startups across the country. And we have several of the entrepreneurs here today. Immigrants also represent about half of PhDs working in math and computer science, and 57% of PhDs working in American engineering. Out of all the Nobel Prizes awarded to U.S. researchers over the last 50 years, 26% were foreign-born. And we're honored to have one of them joining us today. It's an important moment for us to talk about the extraordinary contributions of immigrants to American life. Since this summer, the Senate passed Common Sense Immigration a bill that with a wide bipartisan majority, and it's the best opportunity we've had in years and decades to fix the nation's broken immigration system. If this bill were signed into law, it would yield massive benefits for the U.S. economy, fuel innovation, and encourage job creation. It includes the President's priorities for keeping America as the world's preeminent geek magnet, including stapling green cards to the diplomas of advanced STEM graduates educated at U.S. universities, and creating a startup visa for immigrant entrepreneurs who grow companies and create jobs right here in the U.S.
Great, thank you, Todd. So with that, we're just going to do a very quick round of introductions with our guests today, and we'll start with Anusha.
Hi everyone, I'm very excited to be participating in this We the Geek event. I like the title to begin with, and I'm an electrical engineer. I studied engineering and became a successful entrepreneur in the telecom and technology arena. I just launched my 5th company in all the years that I've been here in the United States, and enjoyed the experience of learning from the variety of immigrants who live here, work here, and have made this country a great country to be in. I've also have another passion alongside my engineering background, and that's my passion for space and space travel. I've been part of the X Prize Foundation and launched the Ansari X Prize, which was a $10 million prize to get people to build their own spaceships and sort of accelerate our mission to get access to orbit. And that was very successful. We had about 26 teams from 10 countries participating, and the prize was won by Bertrand Rutan and Scale Composite. And that led into a whole new era of new companies being launched in private space exploration arena. And I had the privilege of flying to International Space Station myself on a Russian Soyuz mission in 2006, and that was an amazing experience, and it was a childhood dream for me that turned into reality, despite all the negative thoughts that I received as a child. But no one believed that it could be done, and I was able to achieve that dream with a lot of hard work, but a lot of help from good friends and people around that I met here in the States.
Thank you, Anusha Ansari. And next, we'll have a quick introduction from Dr. Jan Vilcek.
So I'm extremely delighted to be in this program and in this distinguished group. Until now, I haven't thought of myself as a geek, but I think I'm changing my outlook as we speak. I was born in Czechoslovakia and came here almost 50 years ago, already after finishing my studies first in medicine and then in science. I joined the New York University School of Medicine shortly after arriving in this country, and have stayed there ever since. My field is immunology. I work on natural proteins that are called cytokines, and they play a role in defenses against infections and in the regulation of the immune system. One cytokine I worked for many years is called interferon, and another one is just called by its initials abbreviation, TNF. So both the interferon and TNF turn out to have some important medical functions, and I was fortunate enough to be able to contribute first to the medical uses of interferon, but especially in the last 2 decades or so, I contributed to the development of a drug that blocks the actions of TNF, this cytokine, which when overproduced can be harmful. And this drug has become widely used and very effective in a number of autoimmune disorders, including rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, ankylosing spondylitis, psoriasis. And I also am wearing a second hat. I don't travel to space, but I, together with my wife, started a foundation, the Dolček Foundation, and the mission of the Dolček Foundation is to raise public awareness about the contribution of immigrants to this country, especially in the sciences and in the arts.
Thank you so much. Next we'll hear from Ping Fu.
Good morning, I'm Ping Fu, and I am originally from China. I studied computer science in the United States and Chinese literature in China. I started a software company called Geomagic, which creates 3D digital models and contents for 3D printing. And early this year, I sold the company to 3D Systems. Now I am the Chief Strategy Officer for 3D Systems, which is a leading company in 3D printing space. And as you see, I'm wearing a shell, and that is a 3D printed one piece. Kind of looks like a chainmail. You can't quite see on this, but maybe you can see this. This is a pair of a shoe that's being printed on a consumer printer. The cost is about $10, and you can literally go online, download a model, modify it to your own liking, choose your own color, match your clothes. In this case, I matched my shawl, and push a button and go to sleep, and in the morning, you have your shoe. Don't have to pack it for travel either. I'm having a lot of fun doing high tech. I'm equally comfortable to geek out as a geek, or being an artist, or a businesswoman, or a housewife to do cooking and gardening. I love everything because there are so many opportunities in this country. It's a free, and I would say that my life has not always been free, and it has not always been this great. I love this country. This year I also wrote a book that's called Bend Not Break, Life in 2 Words, which details my entrepreneur journey and my immigration life in the United States, and also my past in China.
Great, thank you. And next we'll hear from Steve Chen.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Steve Chen. Just in the future, it's only 9 a.m. here in Silicon Valley, so I think for geek conversations, it's very tiring to be waking up anytime before 11 a.m. But I was born in 1978 in Taiwan. I immigrated to the U.S. at the age of 8 in 1986 to a suburb in Chicago called Skokie. And at the time, I was entering 3rd grade at the time. And apart from, "Can I have a glass of orange juice?" A sentence that I learned while I was on the airplane, I didn't speak any English. And now my English is much better than my Chinese, and I think it's unique in that I'm one of the people where my second language is more fluent than my mother tongue. And then that's not talking about all the different programming languages that I speak. I think one of the things that I've done since coming to the U.S. has been participating in the entrepreneur system. And so one of the things coming out in 1999 from Illinois to Silicon Valley was joining a company called PayPal at the time. And fast forward a few years with Chad Hurley, another person, the first designer that I'd ever met at PayPal, we created a video service called YouTube. And apart from creating these companies, I think probably the biggest things that have changed in the last few years have actually been starting my own family in the U.S. My wife, who I met through Google, she was in South Korea at the time. I met her while we were launching YouTube in South Korea. We just had our second son, which we had his second birthday for, and this is just another big startup for us, but we're happy to be dealing with this.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Well, again, we're so honored to be with so many extraordinary folks today on this Hangout. And again, I want to call out to everyone in the internets that if you want to ask a question, you can just tweet it to us at #WeTheGeeks. And we're monitoring it right now. I'm looking forward to asking some of your questions in a second. But in the meantime, I just wanted to jump in and ask a question for Anusha Ansari. You are the first astronaut of Iranian descent, the first female private space explorer, and so we really just want to geek out right now about what it's like to actually visit the International Space Station. And what does that experience mean to you?
Well, it was awesome, absolutely awesome. It was a childhood dream I had, and growing up I always looked up at the night skies and prayed for aliens to come and abduct me. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I had to make it happen myself. It was an incredible experience all the way from the training. I spent about a year planning and preparing for this trip. Most of this time was spent in Star City in Russia, and trained where all the astronauts and cosmonauts trained. And it's funny because when I went there, originally I was just going there for the training. I didn't have the flight plan yet, but I was just so excited. I asked someone, are there going to be real astronauts and cosmonauts there? And they told me yes, and I said, okay, sign me up, I'm going. So just being there and working alongside the wonderful people who work on the International Space Station program was wonderful. And then meeting the astronauts, training with them, and spending time with them on the space station was also incredible in terms of not only the technical learning that I did, but getting to know them and having this experience of working with very international group. When I was on the space station, we had 2 Russian cosmonauts, 2 American astronauts, myself, an Iranian American astronaut or cosmonaut, and then we also had a German astronaut who was part of the mission. And one thing that became apparent is space transcends all culture, language, cultural barriers, and people live 6 months at a time, now maybe longer, on the space station, and they learn how to collaborate and work together really well, and all the borders that we draw on the map here on Earth disappears when you're on the space station.
Thank you so much. The next question we had was for Steve. So there's so much romance about the story of a startup that takes off like a rocket ship. We all take it for granted today that YouTube is a household name. But can you tell us about one excruciatingly difficult challenge that you encountered and overcame along the way?
Yeah, I would say there was definitely each weekend was a series of sort of new challenges, new problems, and kind of new creative solutions. But I think it's the most challenging aspects of YouTube were always in the sort of the first few months. This is before we received funding. This was when we were still a very small company of just 3 people, and I think this ability to be able to finance the streaming of videos online, which is a very expensive task to do, trying to finance that all on my own credit card. And so I think that was the ability to be able to try to always limit that to less than $6,000 a month, which was the ceiling, the credit limit on my credit card, and try to create creative solutions to be able to limit that cost so it's always below my credit card limit.
We're glad you overcame that challenge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ping, you've described yourself as an artist and a scientist who's chosen expression, who's chosen medium as business. What, in your mind, is the role of creativity in both research and entrepreneurship?
Well, creativity and imaginations are essential for innovation and entrepreneurship, because there really isn't a book to teach you how to be a CEO and how to be creative. We were all have inborn creativity. And I was studying Chinese when I was in China, and when I came to the United States, my English was too poor so that I couldn't continue my field of study. And I was fortunate to be introduced to computer science. And today I think of computer science as also writing. And instead of writing essays on montage, I was writing code for the future not yet imagined. And I call that creativity. Also, in terms of thinking how to switch career with a common connection, which is writing.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. Jan, this is a question for you, Dr. Vilcek. How did you first get interested in studying the immune system? How did you translate your research from lab to the market and to broad use?
Well, as it usually happens in science, it was not a completely straightforward path. Actually, I still became interested in this field when I was starting my research back in Czechoslovakia. And I was being trained as a virologist, and to make a long story short, I was supposed to come up with an essay for a virus, find out how we could detect a virus in a tissue culture. And in the course of this work, I came across something that already was known, but just barely so, which is called interferon. And that captured my imagination, and it became practically a lifelong passion. And interferon is just one of many similar types of proteins that are produced in our body. So I eventually became interested in the whole family of these substances called cytokines, and then that led to the work that eventually helped in the development of this successful treatment.
Fantastic. So here's a question for all of us gathered around this virtual coffee table. If we were to try to talk about the magnetic force that is the force behind the geek magnet, that is America, how would you describe it? Like, what's really unique, what's really magnetic about America for you as a geek, for you as a creator, for you as an entrepreneur, for you as an innovator?
So maybe I can start. For me, the freedom to basically do anything, anything you can, think of, you basically can go after it and do. The limits that you set are the limits that you set for yourself here in this country. Coming here, we left our country without taking anything with us, so we basically started with my family from ground zero. And even starting at that lowest possible level, with all the different programs that were available to us to, become integrated into society, for me to go to school, student loans and scholarships that allowed me to pursue higher education. All those they were very important for me. So the opportunities that exist here, I have not seen in any other country, and I travel quite a lot. And sometimes, when I speak to student group, I highlight that because when you are born here and you live here, it's hard to sort of take it for granted. But it's something that's very unique and available to people from all over the world, and that made a huge difference for me and allowed me to pursue my dream.
If I can perhaps continue along the same theme, I'm not really a typical entrepreneur. I still have a position at New York University, and my entrepreneurship was really always through channels that were established by the university. But what I found unique was the freedom of the university system here. In Europe, especially at the time when I came, universities were still very rigid. There was usually one professor, head of the department, and he controlled what anybody in the department is doing. And of course, that's very different in this country. When I came, I was 31 and was offered the position of an assistant professor and given the freedom to do what I wanted to do, provided I could get the grants and find the support for my work. And that was a huge challenge, but also a great opportunity.
Fantastic.
I'll say a few words of my impression of America. When I first arrived in America, I feel this is a nation very generous. Many people helped me the minute I step off the plane. Then I also see America being a very young country, optimistic, full of hope, full of creativity. It makes me feel young all the time. And moreover, America is also a very compassionate society. I think that comes from the immigration culture, because we are all immigrants, just a few generations apart. And because of that, I find people to be very tolerant, compassionate, accepting and embracing failure, and that is very unique.
Yeah, I would add, when I first came to the U.S., I was in 3rd grade at the time, and there were really, I think, 2 big steps that gave me a leap forward in being to be sort of exposed to what the U.S. offers, and that was, one of them was through the education, and 2 was through the business and entrepreneurship side of things. At the age of 14, I attended the Illinois Math and Science Academy, and that was my first time living. It was a boarding school from the sophomore year in high school to senior year in high school, and I was living away from my parents and, more importantly, sort of more Eastern culture for the first time, day in, day out. And that was the exposure to being able to meet many people in this melting pot nature of people outside of my comfort zone, meeting and interacting with people with international cultures. And I think the second part of that was when I first moved from Illinois to Silicon Valley. And that was just a big leap in terms of all the people that had ideas in their head, that had great sort of solutions to problems that people had. But here in Silicon Valley, people were actually taking those solutions and and actually finding other people that have the same kind of passion to work on these ideas, start a company, and create companies. And all throughout that process, I think it goes from very much from this exposure to be able to see many different cultures to the other point of being able to really transform societies as we know it.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, we're getting some questions from the universe, and we encourage more. Again, it's hashtag #WeTheGeeks. Just send us a tweet. Ping, we've had one person so far, at least one person say, her question is, can I please be friends with Ping Fu? So you should definitely check Twitter and check it out. But another question is it true that you invented the World Wide Web?
No, absolutely not. The World Wide Web is created by Tim Berners-Lee in Switzerland, and the Internet technology has been there, like hypertext, has been there since 1960s. But my student, Mark Andreessen, was the one that really persisted and developed with a group of other students in our group of the first multimedia and widely accessible internet browser called NCSA Mosaic, which is the predecessor of many of the browsers that we are used today. I was in that group, and Mark was my student when I all started.
Excellent. And another quick question. Sorry, Steve, we've just got to ask. Favorite YouTube video?
I think this comes in with every interview. I think I don't have an answer at this point, but anecdotally, every time we launch YouTube in a new country, the first thing that we studied with the PR preparations was be ready for this question, and for every one of the countries, we always remember the 3 top videos in that country.
Fair enough.
A question for Jan.
Go ahead.
Dr. Vilcek, can you tell us more about how you're paying it forward with your amazing foundation in terms of honoring and publicizing outstanding contributions of immigrants in the United States?
Well, the foundation has one program which probably is our flagship program, and that is that we give annual prizes of 2 kinds. One is to very well established and very well known people in the field of biomedical science and in the arts. Biomedical science is a constant. We give prizes in biomedical science every year. And then the arts field changes from year to year. We started with fine art, we had architecture, we had literature, we had dance, we had culinary arts, and in each of these fields we gave a prize to someone already very well known, and by the way, people cannot apply for this big prize, which now is $100,000, but they have to be nominated and selected. The second prize, of which I am very proud, and I know that my wife Maritza also is very partial to it, is a prize that we call the Prize for Creative Promise. And there is a poster, I don't know whether you can see it, that advertises the 2014 Prize for Creative Promise in Science. Now, for this prize, people have to apply. They have to submit a formal application with a CV and samples of their publications. And again, it is in biomedical science, but we also give a parallel prize in the arts. And as of last year, we started, because there are so many people who are highly, highly talented, who were born outside the United States and made major contributions here at a young age. we have increased the number of these prizes to 3 in biomedical science and 3 in the arts. And we just completed we just had a deadline for the submission of the 2014 prizes, and in biomedical science we got over 160 applications. And I haven't seen them yet, but I'm sure there'll be many, many truly outstanding people. And our prize in the arts will go for design this year, and we have received over 130 applications from young designers. So that's our main program in the foundation. We do some other things, but I think I'm running out of time.
No, that's great, and it's really relevant to a question we got from Twitter. It says, other countries are now realizing open entrepreneurship and its benefits. How is the U.S. trying to tackle this head-on? And so I would interpret that broadly. There's a lot of things outside government that people like Dr. Vilcek are doing to encourage immigrant innovators here. Like Todd said, the president is very focused on getting common sense immigration reform passed through the Congress. Already been through the Senate in a strong bipartisan way, and now all eyes on the House of Representatives. I think it's really interesting and important to point out that in addition to the kinds of improvements that this bill would make in terms of creating a visa just for entrepreneurs and stapling a green card to the diplomas of advanced science and engineering graduates, it's a common sense approach that many of the incredible people we have here today just illustrate why the comprehensive approach is important. Steve came here as a kid. Dr. Vilcek was leaving the nations behind the Iron Curtain, and so improving the family immigration system, improving the system for refugees and asylees. That's all part of this bill, and that's all part of this moment we're in to really have historic reform. There's also things that we're doing that the president's focused on that we can try to do as much as we can without Congress to really open our doors to entrepreneurs from other countries. And so if you are watching and you are an entrepreneur in another country and you're trying to figure out how you can get here, start your company here, create jobs here, check out the Entrepreneur Pathways website. Just Google Entrepreneur Pathways, and you'll see the full menu of visas, existing visas that entrepreneurs are already using, and a lot of human readable detail about how to pursue those. So I'm going to look back on Twitter for some other questions. Todd?
Yeah. So another question actually for everybody. What advice do you have for a young immigrant to the United States who dreams of being you when they grow up?
Well, again, maybe I'll start. I would definitely recommend to try to learn the language as soon as possible. That's number one. That's number one in getting integrated with the society and understanding all the opportunities available to you. And also, I would say that you need to spend some time learning and researching, and as you do that, you come across people, as Ping mentioned. I found people here to be really willing to help and help you through your mission of getting to where you need to get. So because of that, I think it's good to explore any opportunity that even if you thought it's impossible before. You're in a country that, as I said, there are no limits, and you only put the limits on yourself. So even you have a crazy idea that in the past you've been told that you won't be able to accomplish, well, if there's any place to try it, this is the place, and you should go for it.
Fantastic.
Well, I would agree with everything that Anders has said, and my advice would be to be realistic, number one. But if you think that you really have the potential to succeed, then by all means follow your goals, follow your passion, and go for it. I remember when I came, people told me, oh, why do you want to do laboratory research? You have a medical degree. If you completed your medical training, you would have a much easier time. You would make more money. And I said, you know, I don't really care about money. I want to do what is my passion, and research is my passion. And well, maybe it was risky, and there was a good possibility that things would not work out. But fortunately, they did.
Okay, I chime in. My advice is to try to be yourself. You can't be me. I'm already taken. When I grew up, my uncle taught me that I am precious, and he told me that this is my birthright. He also told me, no matter what stage you are in your life, whether or not you feel you're stuck, whether or not you feel you make mistakes, or you feel you're very successful, just remember you're precious. And I want to give that to you. And if you're young, you come here, whether or not you feel you're doing quite well or you feel you're stuck, it doesn't matter. You are going to make it in this country. You are who you make yourself to be. And make your day interesting. Love yourself. Love this country. Give the best you have.
Yeah, no, I would say personally, there was this time between decision making between whether or not to stay at PayPal or eBay or to create YouTube back in when I was 26, and this decision making was thinking that I could wait until I could stay at eBay and PayPal and work for the next 30 years until 59 and a half, and I can start collecting my 401k. Or I have had this idea for a long time that I've always wanted to work on. I will always regret this if I don't pull the trigger on this. And so my advice is always just to go for it. And I think especially if you can do it at a time before you have kids, you can still pull all-nighters, you can still fully commit to working on the projects.
Well, you're probably going to pull off. You're pulling off different kinds of all-nighters now, right, with the babies. All-nighters continue, just a different kind of all-nighter. Very cool. Very good advice. Inspiring advice from everybody.
Great. Well, do any of the guests we have today have a question for one another?
I have a question for Ping about, can you tell us a little bit more your unique application for 3D printing and the clothing item? I've seen a lot of things in regards to building homes and equipments, but I love the different approach you had to it, and very practical. I'm thinking that maybe I don't need to carry a suitcase next time. I just load in my what I need in the destination country and just print it at a 3D printer at the airport. What do you think about the future of 3D printing?
Yeah, the 3D printing is a technology that will disrupt how things are designed and made. And you give the example of you don't have to bring things in the suitcase. And this has been achieved in music and in publishing, right? We don't carry LPs and CDs anymore, and we don't have to carry paper. We can just print it on site if we need it. And in the future, a product can be made this way too. And like you, I'm also a fan of space technology. So, for example, we are also involved in this program in how to print parts in space technology, and that.
I see a great application for space travel and not having to carry everything to the space station. So that would be great.
That's right. Yeah.
You know of what you speak. Great. Any other questions?
Well, I have a comment. at the very beginning, Todd mentioned that I think 26% of all U.S. Nobel Prize winners who received the prize for work done in the United States were foreign born. Actually, we did some research, and in the Nobel Prize for physiology or medicine, the percentage is actually higher. Over the period of 100 whatever years since the beginning of the awarding of the Nobel Prizes in 1901, 34% of people who received Nobel Prizes for work done in the United States were foreign born. And if you look at some more recent examples, the contribution of foreign born scientists is even more remarkable. Just one example, the Howard Hughes Medical Institute gives out very, very prestigious investigatorships. And in the last round, which was announced just a few months ago, 48% of the new Howard Hughes medical investigators were foreign born. So I think we cannot stress enough how important for the success of the science in the United States people who are foreign born are. And I think that's something that should be stressed in our conversation about immigration policies.
So even more reason to make America the biggest possible geek magnet we possibly can.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all again for participating in today's installment of We the Geeks. For those out there watching who want to make sure that America stays a geek magnet for years to come, check out whitehouse.gov/immigration. And if you have ideas for future hangouts like these on themes of science, technology, and innovation, we want to hear your ideas, and you can tweet them to #WeTheGeeks. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.